So now let's move into the actual first chapter, the first part of the introduction here, the compilation of the root and condensed Tantra. I'm not going to go through all of this. This is the initial homage to writing the text here. And so we have homage to the noble Manjushri. I just wanted to point out that there is a connection between Manjushri and Kalachakra. There's a text called Chanting the Names of Manjushri. And the Manjushri Nama Samgiti, and so it has all of these syllables that represent the names, and there is a connection of that with the Kalachakra, one of the potential sources of the actual Kalachakra. Also then it talks about in the second line of the next verse here the union with non-aspected wisdom. Again, that non-aspected wisdom is this ultimate emptiness of phenomena. And then there's a term a few lines down below that, the mighty Indranila mountain. I'm not sure exactly what that represents. The only thing I was able to find is that Indranila is a blue color. So at least we're talking about a blue mountain here. It's not clear exactly which one that might be. Then down in the next verse, next to last line, Lasang Drakpa, that is a name of Tsongkhapa, founder of the Gelugpa order. And then the middle of the next verse, it talks about the two types of knowledge. This would be relative and ultimate. So then moving on to the next page here, it points out that I'm going to talk about the outer, inner, and other, three main themes, and that there are 4 outlines associated with that. Now we're not going to go through all of this part of the text in great detail because it spends a great part of the time talking about the transmission of the Kalachakra and arguments from different sources and different texts and so forth. You can read through that on your own if you're interested in knowing that. For me, it's not the important part of it. It is the actual practice itself that is the important part of this. So here it goes through and it talks about the same story that we talked about a little bit earlier with Shakyamuni Buddha in Bodh Gaya, Vulture Peak, and then transmitting in southern India, the transmission to King Suchandra, in Shambhala, the writing of the 12,000 Kalachakra root Tantra, which no longer exists, and then other aspects of that. So we won't go through that. We've talked about the significant aspects of the development of that without the additional detail, but you can, as I said, read that if you care to. The second part is the compilation of Tantra, divided into 2 parts, the compilation of the root Tantra and the compilation of the condensed Tantra. So the first part of that, again, refers to the 12,000 verse of the King of Tantras and the extensive commentary on that. King Suchandra being the one who wrote down the initial composition, and then the extensive commentary on that. It talks a little bit about the different mandala aspects of this, the body mandala, speech mandala, mind mandala, the mandala of gnosis. And then it goes into the compilation of the condensed Tantra. And here there's some debate about this with King Manjushri Yasha and the individual who went to the Shambhala area, learned about it, brought it back to India, about who the actual composer of the document might have been. We don't have hard evidence for that, so we probably will never know. So we have the legend about what happened, we have what scholars think may have happened. So we have multiple stories of interest to intrigue us. Then on page 40 it says how the root Tantra and the condensed Tantra were taught by the Dharma kings and Kalachakra kings of Shambhala. So we have the main explanation and then the duration of that. The main explanation again goes through lists of these various individuals and how long they may have lived, and documentation from various sources that sometimes conflicts with each other and sometimes does not. So trying to sort all of that out is what is covered here in this part. And then on page 49 we have the duration of these teachings and the duration of the Buddha's teachings in general. And it mentions the sutra tradition. The duration of the teachings has been variously put at 1,000 years, 2,000 years, and so on. And so once again, we have these differences of opinion about these various things in terms of the time frame and so forth. So the fact is that in ancient history, we do not have hard evidence in most cases of what is there and how it came about. So we do have stories, and so we will let the stories speak for themselves, and then you can use that to the extent that you find that beneficial to you. So next week then we will continue on here with chapter 2, the primordial mind and body. So begin to get into some of the understandings of the more specific details of the actual Kalachakra Tantra.